Hey, Steve Mignani here doing the Junkyard Crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts. In the dead of winter, the snow has fallen, but that hasn't dampened our spirits at all, especially when it comes to talking about the Ford Capri, or actually the Mercury Capri. You got to remember, the Ford Mustang, the Fox Mustang, arrived in 1979 and ran through 1993. Well, from 79 through 86, Mercury had its own version of Mustang known as the Capri. Let's remember too, there was a first-gen Mercury Capri, 1968 through 1978. Now the 68 through 70 were sold in England, but we got them here 1970 through 78 as the Capri and Capri 2, which had four bangers and V6s, but you could get a V8 in one of these things. We'll get to that in a second. But the primary thing that separated the Mercury Capri from the Ford Mustang was largely the grille and the fenders and the rear quarter panels. It had this sort of pronounced wide body effect, something you won't find on a Fox Mustang. Kind of cool. Now we've got to remember, of course, the first generation Capri appeared, like I say, in England in 1968, but we got them here in this country. You might remember that. There it is right there, the first generation of Capri, seen here in Motor Trend of February 1972. Capri, the sexy European. And of course, we know that Motor Trend never makes mistakes, with one exception, canceling Roadkill's Junkyard Gold. Canceled? What do you mean we're canceled? Just saying. Getting back to this beauty, we can see here, again, 4-lug wheels, which are standard fare on all Capris and Fox Mustangs, with the exception of the SVO, of which there was no such thing in Mercury land. Now here is the Mercury Lincoln catalog for 1980. Now second year, 1984 Capri. Let's have a peek inside of this thing right here and look at what's on offer. There it is right there. That's the best Capri, some would say. That is the Turbo RS, the hood and the side. You know, Turbo RS, that was not cheap, $1,186. But for that, you got 140 horsepower versus 119 out of the V8, 102 out of the 2.8 V6, and a mere 88 out of the naturally aspirated 2.3. Now again, these RS turbos were only made in 79 and 80 in Capri land. So interesting piece right there. Now those wheels, by the way, those are the TRX wheels. That's a metric rim, which is 15.3 inches in diameter. In other words, you need specific Michelin TRX tires. And if you have TRX wheels on your Fox today, you need to call Coker and pay $400 a piece for them, because you can't get them at the corner tire shop. Those metric tires, again, are 15.3 inch diameter. You can't squeeze a 15 onto that rim. It ain't gonna work. But anyway, with all that said, let's poke around this puppy and see what we can learn. Now this one does not have an engine presently, but we can tell which engine it originally had. Now the door doesn't open on the driver's side, so we can't check that out. But a little pro tip in the junkyard: when you see an inspection sticker from Massachusetts from this period, you can look at the fifth spot right there. That D tells us this is a 255 V8. Now the 255 was an engine that was only available 79 and 80, a goofy little thing, actually, excuse me, 80 and 81. It was an evolution of the 302. Now the difference is it had the same 3-inch stroke as the 302, but it was a smaller engine by 300 or 32 thousandths. The bore was smaller than the 302. So the 255, again, a 2-year stopgap engine, and again, only 114 horsepower. But with that said, there was once a 255 under the hood of this thing, and we see right here remnants of the factory ram air. Yeah, believe it or not, all engines at this point in time took advantage of outside cool air fed by a duct near the bumper and fed from here into the air cleaner. And this was a, something you would have paid extra for back in the supercar 60s. And it's proof that high performance techniques also improve economy in some cases. Colder air is denser air, and it's better for the intake charge. But again, we also see here the front sway bar. This puppy right here has the red and the blue paint daubs. Those have been there since day one when this thing was built at the Ford plant, and those identify this as the thicker front sway bar to be installed on V8 cars. And of course, the thickest bar of all would have been on that Turbo RS Capri package. But again, a little 255 once thumped away here. Let's take a peek inside, and Shane, if you want, go around me and we'll see the inside. And I'll open the door. Now, of course, these were all sold as hatchbacks. Again, the Capri was never offered as a convertible or a trunk sedan, always a hatchback from 79 through 86. We get to the inside, and we'll notice on the driver's side door that circular crest, that Ghia. Now you got to go back to the 1950s, and Ghia, of course, was an Italian coach builder, and they had a lot to do with Chrysler. They built most of Chrysler's limousines, their show cars. But in the mid-70s, Lee Iacocca, who was on his ascendancy at Ford, bought Ghia. He was friends with the Ghia family, and they bought Ghia. So Ghia represented the pinnacle of style for Mercury. And this Ghia was $364 more than a base Capri, but for it, you got a nicer interior, the little extra plush carpeting, and these wheel covers here with the faux spokes. And again, all this effort right here, all these many pieces, it's got to be 110 pieces to this thing. All that to give you the look of a wire wheel. It's cheaper, but still, you got to wonder what was up. Of course, simulation was the key in so many mass-produced vehicles, including the Capri Ghia. Let's play a little game called What's in the Box. And here, of course, is the glove compartment. Yeah, let's take a peek, and there we go. Not much. Oh, an old cassette tape. Remember these things? Angels of the Sea. It's a mixed tape. Somebody, you can see right here when you see tape on top, that means that somebody defeated the no can tape over function. So somebody took this Angels of the Sea tape, Angels of the Sea, Florida, I don't know who that is, but somebody took and taped their Duran Duran or their Echo and the Bunnymen over the Angels of the Sea. Probably a good move if you ask me, especially when it comes to the Echo and the Bunnymen. This one's an automatic, which of course means C4, not a heavy-duty C6. And between them, we can see that little sticker, important seat belt rules. This is the time when government mandates to buckle up before you drive overruled your personal ownership in the car. And that very austere, I said it again, austere, but that very basic-looking sticker right there was imposed on you by Uncle Samuel so that you'd be sure to wear your seatbelt and be a good little robot. But again, seatbelts save lives, that's for sure. Now, getting back to this car's V8 status, something special on V8s and turbo RSs was the rear axle. They have a 7.5-inch ring gear, a little bit bigger than the 6.75-inch ring gear seen on lesser naturally aspirated four-bangers and V6s. So the rear axle on this thing is the 7.5. Again, in 1985-86, the 8.8 arrived on the HO Capri 302, and of course the Mustang GT and the LX with the 5.0, the 8.8, but again, didn't exist at this point in time. And beyond that, with 114 horsepower and an automatic, this is not going to break that 7.5-inch ring gear. But again, we see on this one here, the hatchback seen on all of these things, but something that came along in 1985 and 86 was a special hatchback just for Capri. They had a big bubble glass like that, which set them aside and set them apart. Now this one here, we can tell, here's the Ghia crest right here once again, kind of faded away, but that said Ghia at one point. And somebody was a bow tie fan who had this car, maybe the boyfriend of the gal who drove this on a daily basis, who can say, but it says Chevy on the back. Well, maybe there was a Chevy under the hood, but I don't see signs of that. But again, the Capri had a specific rear face, but again, all of this stuff could take either Mustang or Capri lights, so that was how Ford kind of economized and made the Fox platform into a Mustang or a Capri all in one. Now, the Capri did live on. It was a third generation built in Australia, a little two-seater, four-banger, goofy little car. In fact, we did a video on that. We'll have a link to that video, the third-gen Capri, in the description of this video. But this is the second-generation Capri seen between 79 and 86. A fairly popular car, but not really hugely popular. With that said, Ford sold a total of 272,322 Mustangs in 1980 versus a mere 79,894 Capris. So these were slightly more expensive, but not nearly as popular. You got to remember too that Ford did that often. The Mercury was sort of like the slightly upscale brand. The Ford Pinto had the Mercury Bobcat. The Ford Fairmont had the Mercury Zephyr. So basically this was the Mustang with a Mercury remake. So if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Mag's YouTube channel, ring the bell so that you're aware of the next video, which is going to happen tomorrow morning. We'll see you then.